Hello, if you're new here, my name's David. I'm an independent director of photography. I've worked as a full-time professional in the media production industry for the past 23 years. And prior to that, while I was in school, it was about 6 years of high school and college that I worked part-time, some paid, some volunteer, in TV production, live sports coverage, post-production facility, random freelance crew positions. So before I went full-time year one, I had quite a bit of work and earn experience. So first, I'm in my garage at home, San Antonio, Texas, September. It's 92 degrees outside, super humid. I got a portable air conditioner blowing right here. So I apologize for the noise. I'm also curious to see with the little Rode Wireless Go how that all sounds once I try to process it a little bit. Okay, so a little bit of context on the first 5 years of income. I'm a college dropout. I survived 2 years of art school, film school at a private college in Boston. I actually applied to 3 colleges my senior year of high school, got accepted to all 3. 2 were private, 1 was a state school, all 3 were in New England. And you know, had I gone to the state school, I think I would have finished and earned that bachelor's degree because the financial aspect wouldn't have been a burden. I think it was like, at the time, like $7,500 a year, maybe 10 grand all in with room and board versus about 35,000 at the college I ended up going to. Didn't have any kind of savings to pay for any of that, so it was federal loans from day one. And at year 2, completing year 2, I'd racked up about $65,000 in debt. And I was forced, some of those loans were not deferrable. I had to make payments immediately my freshman year. So I had to get a job. And I fortunately kind of stumbled my way into a post-production and duplication facility in Boston as a 19-year-old film school freshman. Which was wonderful. I think I was making, I don't remember where they started me at, but pretty quickly I settled on like I think it was $9.25 an hour. I'll put it on the screen what minimum wage was at the time, but I was making a little over minimum wage. I stayed there all 2 years. I think I was up to about $12 when I left. That job had a big influence on my decision to bail on film school. I reported, my boss was the chief engineer at the facility, and he was also the recipient of job applicants that wanted technical roles at that company. And applications that get dropped off like weekly, you know, a resume would land. And a lot of those were graduates from my school and other colleges with mass comm or film, TV degrees, bachelor's degrees. Some had graduate's degrees. And they were effectively applying for that entry-level machine room job that I lucked my way into as a freshman, again, out of necessity. So I thought, well, geez, if I'm going to get through those 4 years and I'm going to get up to $120,000 in debt, and I'm going to put these numbers at the bottom of the screen and inflation, then adjust them, basically move them ahead about 20 years using the, I think the Bureau of Labor Statistics calculator. Yeah, BLS.gov, they have a calculator to show, you know, what the value of something was back then to today. So anyway, you know, 120 grand to get that BFA. It's about 180,000 today. And you know, I had this job based on my work experience and training I had just in high school. I already had that ground floor gig. So I kind of quickly came to the conclusion that if I finished and got my bachelor's degree in filmmaking and 120,000 in debt, I was not going to be in a position to climb the first 5 years of employment in media. It wouldn't be, the numbers just didn't work where I could service that debt, support myself as an adult. And also I was bored in school. You know, going back to the beginning of like year 1, we're going to do theory, you're not going to touch any gear. Year 2, we're going to give you a tripod and a wind-up Bolex and let you shoot a little film for the first time. It's like I was already on the weekends, and you know, I cut class occasionally to go work on a set and use, you know, modern present-day high-end equipment. You know, I was getting on 35mm shoots as like a utility. Or I did some loading on a couple indie features while I was in college, just day playing, no big time commitments. And then in high school, I had a paid job as a utility for broadcast sports coverage. Basically, a truck shows up to the venue on game day, and I would string multi-core camera cable. And I think we got Triax, which is like a thick, like kind of like a thick BNC, single conductor. Much friendlier than that multi-core. It would, be super thick, it's stiff. I would do that after school and on weekends, string cable, put it back on the truck after the game. Got to meet all the engineers, cam ops, the broadcast talent, kind of learn the, the broadcast TV process. Okay, so that's my background. So I dropped out of school in Boston. It was October 1998. I moved to Los Angeles. I had a few friends from school that had already started working full-time in LA. Landed in Burbank, California, and through my contacts and connections at my job in Boston, I set up an interview at a post facility in Woodland Hills, California. Was hired, I think initially I applied as like an assistant editor, edit-based. So they had tape-to-tape pre-read editing at the time. And they had nonlinear, but it was a transition stage for computer-based editing back then, where you couldn't really, except at the very high price point, like a couple $100,000, you couldn't run broadcast quality signal through a computer. Like the drives weren't big enough, fast enough. Processing power to render transitions wasn't quite there. So you would do an offline edit on the computer, spit out an EDL, import that into a tape-to-tape based editing environment. And I started back then, I left Boston making $12 an hour, got hired there full-time, $15 an hour. As I was interviewing, one of their nonlinear editors quit or left, something happened, so they just immediately slotted me into cutting. And I had some experience with that platform from my time in Boston. So right into a full-time editing job, 40-hour weeks, maybe 50 hours with a little overtime. It was hourly, but 40-hour minimum commitment. Had healthcare benefits, all of that. And I think I had like an hour commute from Burbank to Woodland Hills on that 101 in traffic. It was fun for a couple weeks, and then I burned out because we were just finishing TV spots. So it was like the same thing over and over, just like kind of like factory. Doing through all of that, I picked up some freelance work running the same editing system for a company down in Orange County, and they were a high-tech startup. So that was like late 98. So I didn't really have a full year of income in 98. So I'm going to start with 99. So 1999, first couple months of that year, I was still at the post facility in LA, $12 an hour. And then I was freelancing for this technology startup in Irvine, California. And they offered me a full-time job pretty quick and more pay. So I jumped over to that startup, and it was getting me out of the stuff I wanted to pursue, which was like broadcast TV and filmmaking. And I was back to like product marketing, corporate video, corporate messaging, but more money, and I had a little more autonomy, and I wasn't just cutting. Like they had a camera package and some lights, and I had the opportunity to kind of travel around, shoot some interviews. Because we're a tech company based in Southern California, we're doing a lot of work with companies up in the Bay Area. So I went up there quite a bit, fly up, shoot for the day, fly home. Okay, so I'm going to put the numbers at the bottom of the screen, but my year one, my first full year of income, this is based on my Social Security statement, and I'm going to put the $1999 in this case, and then if I accelerate that to today using the BLS calculator, just so you can kind of see things sort of in recent dollars. But it was about $37,000 in '99, my first full-time year in California, working in video production. So year two, I stayed at that technology startup, and they promoted me. They had like a senior producer that left, and they just eliminated that producer role. And they're like, well, we're just going to give you the title of creative director, but basically you're going to do a little bit of light producing, a little bit of editorial. I didn't have to write, which was wonderful because that wasn't my thing. But it was an opportunity to produce, shoot, edit, and I stayed there 99 right into 2000. So 2000, here are my numbers on screen. 2001, I moved down to Orange County. I was tired of doing the drive, and earned about the same in 2001 as 2000. And then the dot-com meltdown and following recession, and we that company were victims of that. So 2002, suddenly without a job, and towards the end there, as money was getting tight and customers were dropping, the founders of the company were kind of trading out gear with me, like, well, you can have this editing system if you can finish up these projects, and then the company imploded. So 4 of us from that company, one of its founders, myself, a graphic designer, and a software developer. The 4 of us bootstrapped and started a new company and a production firm, and we all worked out of our respective homes. I had a 2-bedroom apartment at the time, and I ended up moving a 7-foot equipment cabinet into the hallway, cutting holes in the wall to the spare bedroom, and set up an editing console in there with Betacam and DVCam tape decks, and also had a couple of encoding workstations for packaging for a disc and like online video delivery. So that was 2002. You can say I took about a 25% hit in income in 2002, starting my own company. And basically, if we didn't have a profitable project and revenue, I didn't get paid. And that shifted me to being motivated to be project-based and ultimately, become a freelancer, independent contractor. So that company grew over time and got acquired. And I stayed involved in doing production. Actually wore the title of VP of production for a little while. But over time, I went from being like kind of does all, producer, director, editor, shooter, encoding tech, to kind of paring away all the things I didn't want to do, and just for many years was able to be a director DP. And the only reason I was wearing the director hat, it would ensure that I would be working as a DP. So it was a lot of like commercial product marketing oriented stuff where it was easy for me to be the director cameraman. 2003, my second year being an entrepreneur and getting paid project-based, and I was able to get my income back to what I was making as a full-time staffer, and that's year 5. And after that, each year I was able to just kind of keep ratcheting it up, and then took a big hit in 2009 with that recession. And I've posted some videos in the past. Just I'll put the link in the description where you can watch that. But weathered that one. Same thing. It was like a 1-year income hit, followed by 2010, which was one of my best year in business to that point. And actually, I don't think I repeated the numbers in 2010 until like 2016 or 17. But I also did a shift. I had to decide. When I was working at that technology startup and it imploded in 2001, I had the opportunity, I had a job offer to go take a job at another technology startup up in the Bay Area in San Jose, but I didn't really, I knew there was quite a bit more income. I could make a lot more money working in tech up in the Bay Area, but my heart was in production, filmmaking, making pretty images. So, decided to take the harder road, long hours just like tech, but for less money. And it's worked out. I'm happy, no regrets. But the point I wanted to make is, if you're looking at colleges and you want to go to film school or broadcast TV, mass comm, with your heart set on working in one of the crew roles on set, you got to be really careful. If you're financing that education and you need to support yourself once you get out of school, you probably want to, you got to limit it to state schools. Highly recommend like junior college to start, just to keep the cost down, get the gen ed stuff out of the way. Now, if you've got, if you're in a financial position where the whole thing's paid for, you can go to a private university, get your film degree, and you're not going to be burdened by the student loan debt as you start working and climbing the ranks, then by all means, go for it. So for me, dropping out of school and moving to California, kind of the #1 critical thing was I had to be earning enough money to carry my own weight. So while I would have loved to have just volunteered and slowly climbed up on like indie features up to bigger productions and hopefully studio features and episodic TV, the reality for me was I needed to make money now. And with the bit of work experience I had, I could make quite a bit more money doing advertising, marketing, corporate communications. So I went that path initially, and that created a solid financial foundation for me to scale and knock out that $60,000, $65,000 in student loan debt. It still took over 10 years of working to kill it off. But again, man, if I had gone out there 180,000 in today's dollars of student loan debt, there's no way I could have taken the $15 an hour job, working 40 hours a week, service the debt, and have my own place. Okay, that's it. I hope that's helpful. If you're thinking of film school or trying to guide a student that wants to go to film school and hopes to have a career in media production, just run the math. The thing I would recommend actually is if you want to work in film, it's like go to college, go to somewhere affordable, and get some kind of STEM-based degree that makes you employable in just about any field. Because the whole time you're in school, you can, especially if you find a college that has a film program but you're on the business side, you can jump on all those student film productions and work on crew. and then you just network and hustle, and it'll if you're motivated and focused and love it, it'll lead to paying work. You don't need the degree in film to be a cam op, a sound mixer, lighting, editorial, graphic design, production design, even producing. You know, it's so much more sales and logistics. You know, it's creative problem solving. All right, whew, so hot in here. That's it for today. I hope the sound was manageable. Thanks for watching. Let's continue the discussion below. What are your thoughts on film school and pursuing a career in a crew role in media? Thanks for watching.